My next Patron question is from Marco, who wants me to compare two infamous animated films set during a historical event. About 15 months ago, you answered a Patron question comparing two films considered all-time classics and which are based on the Titanic. The following two Titanic animated films are both considered classics as well, but for the wrong reasons. Which do you think is better, Titanic, Legend Goes On, or Legend of the Titanic? These were both Italian-produced animated films, shockingly not made by the same people. That's right, someone saw a completely historically inaccurate animated movie set aboard the Titanic and featuring a love story and talking mice, and decided they wanted to make their own. Hence why two of these exist. Watching both was certainly an interesting experience, and no, I don't think either film is particularly good. But if I have to give an edge to one of them, it's going to be Legend of the Titanic. For all of its faults, and it does have many, it does tell a coherent story, despite the massive amount of disrespect for the real event. I also have to give credit for the passable character designs, and I'll say it. Depicting the experiences of mice on a ship as it travels across the ocean is a promising story concept. Wasn't a small portion an American Tale devoted to that? I see what the filmmakers were going for when following these mice, and there's even a dance number I thought had a toe-tapping charm to it. The problem is everything else. It's hard to ignore that this is all set on board the Titanic, which is not exactly the most appropriate setting for a cute story involving mice on a ship. The human storyline is also rather boring, as we follow both a dull romance and a subplot involving whalers. Then, for some bizarre reason, they introduce magical elements, with the lead protagonist gaining the ability to talk to dolphins, and the whalers plotting with prison outfit-wearing sharks. Need I remind you, this film is set on the Titanic. Oh, and the movie blames the ship sinking on an octopus rowing an iceberg, and then reveals that nobody actually died on that cold April night in 1912. It makes you wonder if this entire film was made by Titanic truthers. So you're probably wondering, if that movie is bad, what makes Titanic, The Legend Goes On, a weaker film? Well, this one is frankly all over the place, and has some of the worst editing I've seen for an animated film. It cannot sit still for a few minutes without rushing to another scene. I guess it's because of all the subplots going on, so it's trying to keep up, although I did not think any of the storylines were remotely interesting. There's the main one, which is basically just Cinderella, but without any of the heart. There's another subplot, which makes me think the filmmakers really liked 101 Dalmatians. There's also a search for a missing locket that takes up a significant amount of time. Oh right, and there's the mice on board the ship. They try to fit in some Tom and Jerry type cartoon slapstick with them, and I admired the attempt, but it doesn't quite land. I will give The Legend Goes On this, in that, unlike the other animated Titanic film, it at least acknowledges the horrible tragedy of the event. When it focuses solely on the sinking and cuts away from the main characters and the animals, this film does not shy away from what a disastrous day that was. And I have to admit, I actually thought the musical score was okay. Not James Horner, obviously, but it does the job enough. On the other hand, this movie has a rapping dog in it. There's an entire musical sequence with a dog wearing a jersey and holding an old-timey radio like a boombox and performing a hip-hop number. It comes right out of nowhere, and we don't see the dog act this way again. The animation is also inconsistent with the rest of the film, like an entirely different team was responsible for this one scene. The sad part is, as inappropriate and unfitting as the whole thing is, the song is kind of catchy and a bit of an earworm. Ever since I watched Titanic, The Legend Goes On, this tune has been stuck in my head. I don't know if I'll remember the rest of the film after a while, but I'll certainly remember this scene. I'll also give the film this. It's short. Shockingly short. Apparently there's two different cuts, and the most widely distributed one was the version I watched. The runtime is listed at 1 hour and 10 minutes, but the film actually finishes at 58 minutes. The other 12 minutes consist of really stretched out credits. Anyway, if you also took the time to watch Titanic, Legend Goes On, and Legend of the Titanic, let me know in the comments which one you prefer, and thank you for your question, Marco.